Hello friends and welcome to a replay analysis. Venomancer, Archon 2. Looks like you're playing position 5. You said that you just played position 4 or 5 Venomancer lately. So, let's see. You were asking how to improve from Archon 2, asked for some laning tips, some itemization, early game tips, and that you're trying to work on your understanding of the game plan. I think all that sounds great. Now looking at your early items, real quick, let's talk about Venomancer, actually. You're in luck. I've played a lot of Venomancer. I really like this hero. You can start Venomous Gale or Poison Sting level 1. It kind of depends on the lane. Venomous Gale, if you have a carry, that hits pretty well. So, Slark. Slark hits pretty well, so if you manage to slow... Off-lane Huskar? Or off-lane Quap, maybe? And then 4-position Coddle or Witch Doctor. Weird game, classic Archon draft. So I'm not fully sure going into this lane. One thing I would consider, a mango somewhere here. So maybe instead of this clarity, you grab a mango. Why? Because Venomous Gale is kind of expensive. And the way Venomancer works with Poison Sting, so by level 2, you're going to have like one of these each. And your level 1 playstyle might depend which one you take. But Poison Sting is 36 extra damage every auto attack. But it has to be 6 seconds in between because this thing lasts for 6 seconds. So if you attack twice in a row, you're not getting 72 damage, you're getting 36 damage plus like maybe 1 extra second duration, so like an extra 6 damage. And that's not worth it. That means Venomancer doesn't want prolonged trades. He wants to poke and then leave. Because he almost always wins that. 45, let's ignore this Fairy Fire. Let's ignore these branches too. So 43 damage plus 36. That puts him at like, let's say like 70 with all the reductions. Like that's pretty good. That's higher than most supports have. So you don't want to trade constantly. You want to think of this as a cooldown. Even though it's a passive, you want to like poke and then back off. So thinking about that, it would depend on who your matchup is. It's kind of hard to tell this game. Where, you know, if it's Quap up here with her Blink, this slow is not going to be so great. And so I'm just going to look to, like, poke with Poison Sting. And in that case, if you're planning to, like, poke a lot, and you're not going to use Venomous Gale very much, then you don't really need a Mango. Granted, you have enough mana to cast this, like, 3 times without it. So actually, yeah, I'm kind of okay with the clarity since we don't know who's going to be up here. What you're doing right now is, like, okay, you came up here pretty quickly. I think you should plant the Observer Ward, though. You're just kind of holding on to it. And that increases the chance that the enemy is going to be here. In fact, we can see they've already come and placed a ward, which means if you place this observer now, they know exactly where it is. Which is why you generally want to place it as soon as you can. And hopefully see them place their ward. Now, you are kind of slow compared to, like, a Coddle. Looks like it is an off-lane Huskar. I'd be really scared here. Some miscommunication going on here between the two of you. So, like, I don't mind Venomous Gale. Ooh, nice. Lucky. I don't think you knew they had a ward here. Or maybe you did. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe they attacked uphill or something. I think blocking this camp is pretty good against the Coddle. I'm trying to decide if I want you to start Poison Sting or Venomous Gale. With the Slark, I think Venomous Gale is pretty good. But against a Huskar and Coddle, it's kind of hard to close that distance. Right? At level 1, it's a little scary. I'd feel more comfortable by like level 2 when he has Pounce or something. And against a Huskar, it's kind of scary to fight. I don't really mind either, though, I suppose. This means you don't really want to trade right clicks, though. Without starting Poison Sting, you like just don't, because your auto attack damage is just not very high. And your attack range is not very long either. Which means you'll probably lose right click trades. So, like, yeah. Let's look at where's his stats. So, he has slightly less armor than you. Actually, 3 is kind of significant. But his attack damage is about the same. Which means, in this case, you'll win a prolonged right-click trade because you have more armor. But that's only until, like, the Huskar actually walks in, you know? But having said that, because you'll win a prolonged right-click trade in this case, that's when Venomous Gale is kind of good. So, I I don't know. I want to talk about it just so that to make sure you're not doing this every single game. Let me think. Who's a hero that you'd lose a trade against? Like, is Clockwork too obvious of an example? Maybe. Who else would you lose a prolonged right-click trade to? Like a Disruptor? You don't want to trade that because his spells are better than you. But that's not a right-click trade. Who's a good right-click trader? I don't know why I'm blanking so hard on it right now. Maybe like Pugna or Grimstroke because they outrange you. Or like Lena. Well, Lena's probably pretty good. You don't want to like get into an extended trade with them. And that's where like poking with Poison Sting and then backing off would be better. Okay. You've pulled the whole wave. I didn't see you look at the lane. Double check the lane before you do these pulls, just to make sure like where your creeps are. Maybe you took note of it before coming over, because you did look at it briefly. But get in the habit of like double checking again. And I do want to warn, like, be a little careful about pulling the whole wave against someone like Huskar, because Huskar is not afraid to walk under the tower and harass your carry a ton. The range creep.
Much for the Radiant's courier.
I think you were going for a half pull. That's fine. Maybe another one. See, like, right now, I think Venomancer is excellent. And so you're, like, sitting at full resources. I think Venomancer is excellent at slowly whittling people down. So he needs constant pressure, but not so constant that you're, like, rapidly attacking with Poison Sting, because we said that's not good. But what you want to do is you want to, like, look for an auto attack, like, every 6 seconds or something. Which makes it, like, harder to do these pulls. But you need to, like, poke, maybe use Venomous Gale, then back off, then, like, pull, and then walk out again, and then, like, poke, walk back, pull, things like that. Right now you're just, like, sitting here for the last, like, minute or two, and it feels like a waste of this Poison Sting. You know? Slark has to deal with Huskar and Coddle alone right now with what you're doing. Let's see, 2 range creeps. You mentioned that you were, like, slightly off, so I think you were going for the half pulls. So, like, see, like we're still just here. But you definitely have time to walk back to the lane for a little bit. Yeah, this is pretty good. He's probably gonna die. Might get a kill. I'd probably look for that, might even be able to kill that Coddle there, actually. Now you have denied several creeps. But if you... So thinking about how we can make this work. So if you're always doing half pulls, it means you always have to be here. So that's why... Well, in this case, you were only getting the range creep, so that's why you were able to be here so long. But if instead you do, like, a half pull, and then you go play the lane for a little bit, with the intention of stacking this camp, that gives you a bit more time, because instead of having to hit this at 47, you can hit it at, like, 53 to 55. And that gives you a few more seconds to, like, walk over here, poke a little, then come back, stack it. And then you can do, like, a full pull, let it all die, and then play the lane until it respawns or something like that. But right now it feels like we're not making the full use of Venomancer as this great harass. I feel like that's the strength of Venomancer support, or one of them. The pulls are good. I don't want to, like... Sorry. I don't want to dissuade you from, like, doing a lot of pulls. But... finding the balance is, like, very important. Could just sidestep slightly sooner. That's fine. I would actually chase him. At this point, he's used Illuminate, which means, what does he do? He just does 50 damage and 2 armor. And because you're hitting him with all your slows, like, look at his move speed. It actually doesn't matter that you're low, because you just do more damage than him. Especially with Poison Sting. So in this case, I said, like, oh, you know, hit and then walk away. And now you can do it every 9 seconds. But in this case, he has nothing, and I think you can actually chase to possibly kill this guy. Like, maybe drop an iron branch, plant it, and eat it so that you have the regen going, and then you just chase this guy for a little bit. Because you can see Huskar in lane, which means you're safe here. I think you could probably punish him further. Let's actually watch him. Let's see how low he gets. Yeah, this is like 3 more auto attacks. 4, maybe. You know, but like, walk, hit him, walk, hit him, walk, hit him, walk, hit him. You know he's going to come for this bounty rune. So you'll kill him if he goes for this. Or if he like gives up because you're chasing him, then you get the bounty rune. So it's like a win-win for you. Okay, pulling a catapult wave. We got to be very careful about this. We were watching Coddle, so let me check your perspective real quick. So you didn't look at the lane, which means what's coming? Do they have like a double wave coming in? Or did Slark kill off everything? Oh, do you know? I don't think you know. Let's see what they've got. They've got a sizable wave. Oh, thanks. Huskar's actually killing one of the creeps for us. Sizable wave with the siege creep, and then Huskar went ahead and killed that one off for us. And Coddle actually helped clear the camp, so this is going to die a little faster. Which is lucky, because now the creeps are distracted. But let's look at how much damage your tower is going to take for this. So it's starting off at 1600. So I was talking about how one of your strengths is the constant harass. The other strength of Venomancer is defending towers for a really long time. Or the opposite of that is taking towers. But as a position 5 Venomancer, usually you default to defending towers, which means you don't want to give up any tower health that you don't need to. So right now, we started at about 1600 and dropped 300. You know what? 350. That may not seem like the biggest deal, and yeah, this tower is still relatively healthy, but did we need to lose any of that HP? Maybe not. Like, if you don't do this pull, this tower probably doesn't lose any health. And to now think about the game plan as a whole, whether you should be defensive or aggressive, like plant yourself in their jungle and steal their farm and pressure their towers, it just depends on your draft. So, like, what your timing needs to be. And looking at this, I would say that your draft outscales their draft, which means you just need to delay the game as long as possible, and then your team is more likely to win. So if your team is doing well, you can still have like an aggressive mindset, but your default should be defensive. That you need to stall out and protect towers, max out wards. You can fight that guy. I think you want to be there and fight, especially because you have the Zeus. But you don't want to like leave Slark by himself. Who's that salve for? I hope it's for Slark, because it's certainly not going to be needed for you, because you just finished your Tranquil Boots. So if you're getting the salve for Slark, then it's fine. But you should still click him real quick to see how close he is to 6, and whether you need to. Actually, oh, maybe you were. No, I don't think you did. I don't think you selected him. He's low though, but so like, yeah, the salve is good. But you do need to, like, if he's about to hit 6, then you don't need to salve him either. And then you could save that 110 gold. So in this case, it's working out. But just double check. Did he buy his own salve? Let's see. He did not. Consider backpacking this when you're going to pull this camp, because they're passive. It doesn't show here, actually. Can I click this? This passive actually reduces your regen. And since you're sitting at low health, you salved yourself. You greedy boy. Absolutely not necessary to use any regen on your hero once you have Tranquil Boots. 14 HP regen is so much for a guy who's just sitting back here doing pulls anyways, right? So this salve was definitely supposed to be for Slark, because he's the one who needs to get experience and then hit 6. And your levels don't matter as much. So you see how like Huskar's running? Like, forget this. These creeps are gonna die. Hopefully. Hopefully this Vul Assassin's like targeting this one and then targeting that one. These creeps will die and you don't need to worry about it. You need to be like up here. Like, look at your Slark. It doesn't matter if he can get away. He's not being allowed. He's not last hitting. So it's like, you don't want him to just survive. You want him to farm too. So even if he survives, it's not enough. I think you did mention, like, you thought he'd be okay. But they have a tower. Like, they have creeps here hitting this tower because you pulled. And now the Huskar is doing what he should, which is to chase the Slark around while he's safe. And you need to punish this. You need to be here and attack this Huskar and slow him. If he dives you, he'll aggro the tower, and then you fight. And then Slark comes out, and maybe he finishes the kill on Huskar, and then he's pretty happy because he'll hit 6. Like, I would just fight this guy under tower. You'll probably die now that you left the tower. If you'd stayed under the tower, the tower damage, and so first the tower gives you armor and regen, so that helps you survive mildly longer. And then it'll probably start hitting the Huskar, which might actually give you the kill, especially as he walks away, and then he's still suffering from your damage over time. Yeah, this ain't for you. Hand this to the Slark. Nice pinging this guy if you guys want to fight. Oh no, clock rotation. Let's see, you hadn't seen Quap in a while. I guess I still wouldn't have expected her to come up here though. You do see the TP. At this point, it's a little late. I think you are committed. I don't know if you quite need to go on him, but I also don't hate the idea. At this point, though, Slark with his ult can now jungle, and he may choose to do that instead of laning against a Huskar, which means you now switch to, like, defend this tower mindset. Or if you feel like he'll be safe on his own, you come down here and pressure this tower. Let's see what you guys do. I might walk bottom and TP top when Slark wants to leave. So you're walking mid. You're probably not going to kill the Quap, though, right? Your slows don't really mean much to her because she has a blink. So they do see her. I like that trick. Good work.
My favorites.
You want to just, like, constantly place Veno wards,
You know the drill.
by the way, for vision. Like, all around here. Like, just drop it on the high ground. Drop it everywhere. I know it's gonna, like, they might farm some and take some gold, but the vision is really good. And especially as you get higher level, they're gonna lose a lot of HP for killing these wards. So I think it is, especially since you're full mana, I think it's worth just constantly dropping wards. Nice. See, like, what if while you were waiting here, what if you had dropped, like, 2 or 3 wards? Then suddenly, as Necro tries to run away, like, they're not scared of 1 Venom ward, but they might be scared of, like, 3 or 4. He probably still dies in this situation, but that's why it's, like, important to, like, keep placing it. So, like, right now, like, you need to keep placing it. You know how many heroes are here, so you need to be placing, like, a bunch of them. So it's, like, weird to me that you guys tried to, like, play a little aggressively like this. It's sort of working, but it was also, like, unnecessary. What I'd want you guys to do, if you want this tower, just start placing a lot of wards, like, in this area. And then, like, shove the lane in. And then if they want to push out, they have to go through all your, like, defensive wards. And then that's really scary for them. But if you, like, start placing wards after a fight breaks out, like, no one is scared of 1 ward, even if it's maxed out. No one's scared of 1 ward. No one's scared of 2 wards. It's when there's a bunch of wards that it becomes scary. So you have to have them placed, especially if you want to, like, fight this tower. Placing wards back here is easier to kill, but, like, placing a bunch together up here is very hard to... It's very hard to deal with.
I could do with more of that.
Okay, TPing up here. You're pinging the Huskar. You don't need to kill anyone right now. You just need to defend. I'm not confident you have the damage to kill Huskar. You are kind of good against Huskar, but still, it's, like, it's a pretty tough... It feels like a risk you don't need to take, I guess. Let's see. So, you traded 1 for 1. You know? So going back to the game plan, it's like, yeah, the later we go, the better I feel. Because she might scale as a core, even though she's support. And then Zeus and Slark are very good in the late game. And Necrophos is like, you know, not too bad. But Huskar drops off a lot. And Drow's pretty good. But like Coddle kind of drops off. Witch Doctor's like okay, but there's several ways to cancel his ult, and then he's not gonna have as much impact. Quap's like okay, but like especially this Huskar drops off. So those kind of traded kills don't always favor the team that wants to go late, I guess is what I want to caution. Sometimes it can, but sometimes it doesn't. You mentioned that Wind Ranger also went Urn, even though you said you were going to get it first. Yeah, there's not too much to talk about that, I feel like. Obviously, it's not ideal to have both, but I do think it's a pretty good Spirit Vessel game, and I think you're a fine hero for it. And if you tried to communicate it, then it's like, whatever. So yeah. So see, our goal, defend this tower. So you're like farming this. Look, you have 4 wards here, farming this jungle. But what if you had 4 wards here? Do you think he'll walk in for this? It's a lot scarier for him to do it, right? He might still try to do it, but he might not. And if he might dive you, well, then you're going to like queue him and fight, and under tower, he's full enough health where he might survive, to be honest. But it's scarier, and it might give enough time for someone to rotate in, that sort of thing. So you're going to lose this tower here. You know, he doesn't care. He literally does not care about the 1 ward. Venomancer is a hero. You have to... So you... I'm glad you're improving your idea of the game plan. Venomancer is a hero. You have to see where you need to be ahead of time, because you need to place Veno wards. You're not a hero who can like react as it's happening and have full impact. It's not how the hero works. You have to have a bunch of plague wards down to have the full impact, which means you have to identify they're pushing bottom. I need to be there like 30 seconds ahead of time to drop several wards. Or like, oh, I want my team to push bottom. I need to be there ahead of time and plant wards. So Venomancer is actually a good hero for that, to work on identifying the game plan. Because if you don't identify the game plan, you're never going to have full impact. But it's also a little harder because other heroes are more forgiving when you like incorrectly identify, but then you like, oh, it's happening now, I got to react. They show up. It's like, imagine you're an Ogre Magi. You show up, you stun, you bloodlust someone, and you like cast your slow, whatever. Maybe you use an item. That's like full impact for the hero. But if Venomancer TP's in, it's like Venomous Gale, Poison Nova, pretty good. But then like 1 Plague Ward, right? No one's ever cared about 1 Plague Ward. So Veno's a hero. I think he's a good hero for it. But you will be like punished a little bit if you incorrectly identify things. So you lost your tower. So for example, identifying things ahead of time. So you lost this tower, which means there's no point for you to be here anymore. It's unlikely he pressures tier 2. And tier 2 is stronger, which actually means it does give you some time to react to it. And I think one of your cores can like farm this jungle, and when someone pushes it to the tower, they can go farm it. So where do you need to be right now? If you look at the minimap, you could be in this bottom push, but they're probably going to be fine on their own. Or the enemy has 2 heroes mid pushing your mid tower, which means you need to be here now and start placing Plague Wards.
Radiant's bottom tower ain't a Dire's mid tower's having difficulties.
So now, green, your Zeus, left the bottom push to deal with the mid push. But if you had been mid, then the Zeus is free to continue pushing this bottom tower, and your team still gets this farm. And like, you don't need to get this farm, right? Slark will get this farm. Veno's a hero where it is, you've got to be careful about stealing farm. I know you said you were trying to be more aggressive and not take your own team's farm. So this isn't meant to be like a flame. This is just meant to be like a general analysis of Venomancers, where Venomancer support has a classic issue of accidentally taking farm he's not supposed to take, unintentionally. And so it is important to be aware of that. So the fact that you said it, I think, is really good. And I'm just going to like re-highlight that for everyone else. You have to be very much focused on not accidentally stealing farm you're not supposed to. So you guys smoked. Looks like, again, you're thinking about going on the Venomancer, but, like, he's such a hard... He's, like, the hardest kill you could go for, I feel like. I guess Quap's also kind of hard out of a mobility sense. but like not in terms of, you know, she might get away, but she's not likely to then kill you. Huskar is like, he might just kill you. So now looking at it, it's like, where should you be? There's no tower bottom to take. So like, this isn't your home anymore, unless your team's gonna push into this jungle here, which I don't think you need to, because we said you're the late game team, which means your home should be this mid lane. Defending your mid lane and possibly pushing their mid lane. Both, really, at the same time. Personally, I think this is farm for the core. This is something like Slark could do, or Necro, or Zeus, all on their own. They can push this lane and then farm these camps. So see, now you TP in here, but like the tower's already taken damage. Still end up with a quaff kill. Okay, cool. Now stay here. Don't go anywhere. No one else actually needs to be mid besides you. You could solo hold this tower like completely on your own, and then people rotate in to help if they choose to dive it. But if you have like 5 wards here, there's no way a creep wave ever makes it to your tower. And then that means the enemy team doesn't want to be here. But if at least one hero is not here, then you're going to take their tower. So then they need to dedicate, like, in this case, they actually have a Keeper of the Light who could do it, and it would be fine. But in many other lineups, they would need someone else to sit mid, and that's generally good. Like, if you are the position 5 Veno holding mid, and then it like requires the Queen of Pain mid to stay here to defend, like the position 5 is holding up the position 2, and that's good for your team. In this case, it would probably come down to like position 5 versus position 5, or position 4, I guess in this case, and that's like not so bad for them. But it is just like still what you're supposed to do, I feel. And you gotta keep in mind your mana cost on this hero. So that was probably a good Poison Nova case, but like you weren't... It's tough, because you do need to place your Plague Wards a lot, but then you just need to be conscious of your mana issues. So you need to have like... You have to have some form of mana regen, enough to keep up your mana. So like you need 325 to use Venomous Gale and your ult, and you need a little bit more to be able to constantly place Plague Wards. So like when you're sitting at full mana, it's fine. You can like place Plague Wards all the way, but then as you get close to 325, you need to like slow down a little bit, unless you have some kind of mana regen to allow you to constantly place Plague Wards, which would be ideal. So like raindrops, or a clarity ahead of time, things like that, or buy items that give you a better mana pool, stuff like that. Oh, report that. That's some griefing right there. So like right now, why'd you leave? You know? You guys got a couple kills. So speaking about playing like aggressively instead of defensively, it's like, why are you in your own jungle right now while 2 heroes are dead? You want to talk about stealing farm? You could steal farm from here, or you could like push in the lane to the tower to like start to chip away a tier 2, or like someone can push top all the way here, but does it need to be you? Because this is incredibly safe to do, don't you think? Zeus can do this without dying. Slark could do it without dying. Necro, anyone could do this. So why would you put like why would you do it instead of like a core who wants to safely farm right now? And because you're here, you're like, oh, Zeus should do it. And now you're like not sure what to do. What you could have been doing is like stealing this farm here while they're dead, and you're very safe to do so. And then actually you guys didn't even push it. What the heck? So yeah, if your team wanted to push mid, then like you should be there with them, and then Zeus solo pushes top, and then you guys transition top. I think that would have been really good. I think you should just go, just bait him in. So for your itemization, by the way, while we're here, I think this could potentially be a pretty good Veil game. And if you don't even have to commit to the full Veil, you can like see how it goes, but it means that Ring of Basilius is pretty good because it'll address some of your mana issues, and it's good for your team. And then if it looks like your team's doing really well, you can get the Veil because you have a lot of magic damage. Raindrops, generally a good Venomancer item. Against a Queen of Pain, maybe not so much, but she wasn't in your lane, so you could have done it. It would have been good against Caudle and Huskar, in my opinion. So if you wanted to get raindrops pretty early, you could. What else? Tranquils was fine. If you wanted to build Greaves, you could do that. I don't think this is strictly a Greaves game until later. Greaves are pretty good against Witch Doctor and Drow. You need bonus armor against Drow, but they also have a lot of magic damage, which means a pipe would have been good. Glimmer is good, but then Glimmer adds another mana cost to you. So you have to keep that in mind. Like, oh, I really need to address my mana issues. Which means looking at your neutrals later on, as your team starts to pick up more neutrals, this could be really good. Solve some of your movement speed issues, but more importantly, gives you a lot of mana. But you kind of need like something for mana. Especially like if you plan to level Poison Nova, it's going to go up another 100 mana. You already bought your wand, which is one way to deal with your mana issues, but it's like also not enough. So you probably need like the Bassi or the raindrops, because you have the Spirit Vessel, but this is also like not fully enough to spam out Plague Wards. You need like a little bit more, or you need to just keep buying like a few clarities. That's like another somewhat viable option, I feel like. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Okay. Actually, I said we were going to keep going, but look at your Plague Wards. These Plague Wards are good for general vision, but they're very far apart, which means if a fight breaks out here, it's not as effective as if they were close. So, for example, there's a fight going on here. So it would be great if they could back up into wards, which zones the enemy. But if they back up here, it's like one Plague Ward. The enemy team doesn't care. They keep going. And it's like, oh, you make your way to a second Plague Ward. But it's like they're so far apart, it doesn't even matter. So when your team is sieging this high ground, or not this high ground, this tower here, placing one ward further out for vision, that's fine. But then you need to like consolidate the others together, so it's like scary. And don't like block your team. Like block this whole ramp with wards, that would be no good. But like, have a couple like doot, something like that. And then if your team is like trying to push this tower and they're like standing here or here, they back up into 4 wards, and the enemy team is like, I don't want to go up high ground against like all these Plague Wards together. That's really scary. But right now, like, this fight's breaking out and you're over here. When your team is pushing, you guys kind of need to like drop. You need your Plague Wards like here already. I think the fight's working out anyways. Get him! I think that was a kill. Does he have enough regen? I guess so. Where's he walking to? That's close. I thought you'd have enough damage to kill him. The other reason you need to be near the fight is because you have the Spirit Vessel. You need to like get some of these charges. Yeah, so see how your wards are like always split up? If you want to push this tower, they need to be together. Oh, that Philosopher Stone's really good. Your right-click damage comes from this passive, not your actual damage. And it would give you mana and then gold and stuff like that. So like, you see how these are close together? Now this is scary. And you saw it. They all backed away. They didn't want to fight you. Do you want a couple like closer to the tower? So this is good for farming, but then like when the tower fight actually happens, it's not good for that. Veno, not actually a bad Quicksilver carrier because your thing's always on cooldown. All right, free kill, nice. Yeah, you want to play aggressive and put a bunch of wards here? I'm also okay with that. This is going to get killed by creeps. So unless you place a ton of wards here to intercept all the creeps, then they'll die too soon. But what you did there to like intercept the creeps, that was good. That way your wards don't die. But it is risky to do that if the enemy team was ready to fight. So you're getting a Yule's. I don't mind. It'll solve your mana issues. Kind of remove the silence. Another way to cancel a channel. Control Huskar a little bit. What did... Okay, he got a pipe. Okay, and he's going Greaves. Yeah, so those were like the other items I was thinking for you. You like prolonged fights, so usually you build towards that. That's why Yule's is like okay, but also just general survivability things like Pipe, Glimmer, Greaves, things like that are also really nice for you. See, like, if you Glimmer that guy, right, then the Huskar's like totally lost on what to do. So right now, you just killed 2 of them. I would be planting a bunch of wards, like right here, right in front of their tier 2, if you want to push this in. Like, forget this farm. Push the tower. You're farming like a little bit too much after these fights. Unless you're close to a major item, you shouldn't care too much about these. Ooh, so close. You shouldn't care too much about the, like, farm. You care about pushing. Now, if you're pushing and you're, like, waiting for creep waves, then you can bring camps into you. But if you have the option between pushing a lane into a tower and farming a camp, as a support Venomancer, you should probably be pushing. This is good. Like, putting the sentries on the low ground. Like, your team's setting up, but there's, like, no... You know, your wards aren't in place. This is why Veno 5 is a little awkward in pubs, because, like, you need to do the warding, but you also want to just sit in one place. Yeah, this makes me want to play Venomancer. What are you building now? I think it was a 4-staff. I don't mind 4-staff as a general item, but I think you just need more survivability things, which 4-staff is technically a way to survive when you kite. But if you look at like Maledict, if you look at like Huskar jumping in and like she has a bunch of physical damage. Right now you don't have any armor, which is important against Drow because of her passive. Her ult dodges natural armor, which Venomancer has a lot of natural armor, and she's avoiding that, which means you need to buy something to give you more armor. Or if you can like provide a lot of heals, you can ignore a lot of Witch Doctor's damage from Maledict, or you can help to counteract all of their... Like, a lot of them are burst-based. Like, with the Coddle and the Quap, and then like all of that burst combines with the Maledict to get the kill. Which means if you can survive the burst, then the sustained damage of like Huskar and Drow is like less scary. Or you take the other approach and reduce their damage by buying like armor or like the pipes and stuff like that. So then you can ignore the burst. Either way, like both approaches kind of work, but that's kind of what I want to see from you. So like a Glimmer, the Pipe and Greaves, but like that's already on the what's his name. Lotus Orb works in certain games. In this game, I would say it's not quite as needed, but still not bad because you can remove silences, gives you bonus armor, gives you some of the regen issues you have, solves that stuff. So you are holding this Quicksilver. What else do you have though? Oh my goodness. Dragon Scale's pretty good, bonus armor, and it makes your passive like even better. Or like your right clicks every now and then even better. Necro using this is really bizarre. I don't know about that. Because you got a Yule's, I guess you don't need more mana, but otherwise this would be really nice still for you. I'd probably take the Dragon Scale if I was you to deal with, like, if you took Dragon Scale and then you bought Glimmer, you've got armor against the Drow, you've got HP regen to deal with like Maledict and stuff like that, and then your right clicks are good, and then with the Glimmer you're safe from Huskar and all this magic damage over there, and you like contribute to your team. Like sometimes your itemization is affected by what the neutrals show up. If you want to try this kill, by the way, I would just start with the Venomous Gale, actually because of literally what you saw. One, I don't know if she... Let's watch her. Okay, so she blinked from here to here, which means blink is on cooldown. So let's actually watch her. Blink is on cooldown. And then you actually could have gotten in a spell and an attack before blink is up again. So you Yulesing her actually gave her time to like get the blink off cooldown. Then she blinks and TPs away. And you have nothing to cancel TP because you used the Yules already. So if you just like attack and Q her, when she blinks, she'll be super slow from your stuff. And then you quickly try to like find her, and then you Yules her if she's like TPing. And if she's not TPing and she's just running away slowly, then you auto attack a bunch. But there's like, I don't know, there's like no real benefit from using Yules there. Because she can do what she did. She just blinks and TPs out. Maybe you don't Yule, she blinks, and you don't find her after because she like hid in the trees or something. But it's like she got away, and at least you didn't use Yules, which is quite expensive, and you still have the cooldown. Not using the Yules is like your higher. It doesn't guarantee a kill, but it's a higher chance at getting the kill in that particular case. Yeah, Plague Ward sitting on cooldown right now. You really do just want to place it a bunch. Like, why? You don't need to use a ward here if you can place a... clarify. You don't need to place an Observer ward, which is worth money, if you can just place a Plague Ward, right? Okay, you had a pretty decent ult. You're gonna kill this. And the whole time, just keep placing Plague Wards, you know? Right now, just keep placing Plague Wards. As long as you don't have mana issues, Plague Ward should like always be on cooldown. And if you just need general vision, you can split them up. But if you're trying to push, generally put them together and then a couple to the sides to like scout. This is good. This looks like it should wrap up the game. I feel like you guys are in a good position. 14k? Yeah, I'd say so. This is really scary from you guys. Or from you, like your team's not there. You're like circling around a Huskar.
Every coin helps.
Oh, the shard is also really good on Veno. Because of how, for one, it increases the cast range, but then two, it summons more Plague Wards. So when you see a fight break out, we were saying this is why you like drop all your wards together, so it's scary. And then if you like hit multiple heroes with Venomous Gale, it creates a bunch of wards. It's really good. So you can consider that as an option. Especially against this, like, these backline supports who are going to stay way in the back. Now you can, like, hit them with the Venomous Gale, and then they either have to back up. Because, like, supports do not deal with wards very well, especially when there's, like, 2 wards spawned on top of them. They're going to waste a lot of time trying to kill those wards or get out. And, so, like, let me paint a hypothetical for you. You're sieging this high ground. The supports are back here. You've got, like, Huskar up here, whatever. And then you... Okay, maybe this is too far back. Maybe a little closer. You're not usually supposed to have vision of this area. And this is why the enemy supports feel, like, safe to be back here. But then, by chance, you're, like, standing here. You hit the Huskar with Venomous Gale and maybe a support back here. And now there's, like, 4 wards here. The Huskar maybe can start dealing with it. But maybe if Huskar's busy with other stuff going on in the fight, now the support has to feel awkward because, one, they either have to ignore these Plague Wards and then just move everywhere slower because they're being slowed and taking damage, and then still fight. But you also are providing vision of them, which means a hero like Zeus can see them now and drop Nimbus and ult, because they were just hoping, maybe he doesn't see me at half health and they won't kill me, you know? But then you do because of these Plague Wards. Or maybe you have like a Quap on your team or some other mobile jumper, like a PA, and now you see these like backline supports getting slowed and a little low from your wards and your Q, and then like the Huskar and the other cores are up here. The PA just like blinks on them, kills them, and they were supposed to be safe back here because you're not supposed to be able to see this far usually. For example, if you have a ward here, then they're like standing over here, but now you have like Plague Wards popping up here and here, and you can cast it safer because it's like this bonus 400 range. So the shard is pretty good on Venomancer. I like it a lot. I think you want to be with your team right now. You're winning. There's no need to like split the map anymore. You guys should just like group up and go down. And like we said, you're the kind of guy who needs to be in the place first because you got to place all the wards. That's another reason why the shard is good, because you're able to place a bunch of wards really quickly if you land a Venomous Gale. Establishing control of the area. Just keep placing these. Just keep dropping them. Not the greatest Venomous Gale in the world. I can see what you were going for. Wasn't quite needed there, I feel. Woo! You had these to run a little faster. You got away just in time anyways, though. Ah! Look at this just sitting off cooldown. Just like drop these all the time. Especially at this point in the game. You don't really have too many mana issues at this point because you've bought some items to give you more mana and mana regen. Now it's generally fine. Like, actually, look at this. You're at 9.2 mana regen per second. You only need 26 mana to place a ward, which means every 2 seconds, 3 seconds, okay, round up. 3 seconds, you have enough mana to cast Plague Ward for free. And then, since Plague Ward is a 5-second cooldown, that's 2 more seconds where you're just regenerating the mana from, like, your random other spell usage. So, at this point, Plague Wards are literally free for you. So you should just be dropping them all the time.
Radiant's top tower's in bad shape. Radiant's top tower's
And for those that find my math difficult, as soon as you hit 4 mana regen, Plague Wards are essentially free. 4 or 5 mana regen, depends what level it is. But that's why, like, that's why the Raindrops are really good, 0.8 mana regen. Why the, like, Bassy, 1.4 mana regen. It's because it's pushing you towards this point where Plague Wards become free with enough mana regen. And then don't forget you have some mana regen naturally, and as you level up, it increases a little bit. And that's why, like, even if you're sitting at below 4 or 5, you're at, like, 3 or something. It's mostly a free Plague Ward, and then occasionally you Clarity up to get the rest. You know? A Clarity is worth, like, God, how many? 100? What is this? 6 mana regen for 30 seconds. Why am I, like... I suddenly became dumb and I can't do math. 180 seconds, which is, like, 5 Plague Wards. But then factor in the natural regen as well. You're on the, like, wrong side of the map, by the way, my friend. So, like, what is your team doing right now? We, like, took this tower and you know they're up here. I guess you have some heroes down here too, but it's like, I don't know, your team's, like, not on the same page. When you're 24k up, there's no reason to split different lanes. You only need to be together and go down one lane. And Venomancer loves that shit. So you should encourage it as much as possible. So, like, this is how the other team actually comes back. It's like finding individual kills. It looks like it doesn't matter in this case. You still managed to clean it up, but that is how you can lose. At least lose the lead a little bit and make the game harder. Plague Ward, slow. Yeah, okay. Easy. Huskar's ult is really obvious, right? This was an extreme example, but it's really obvious. That's why Glimmer Cape is really good. Gives you tons of time to, like, throw it on someone and protect them. And then with all your slows, he's like, you make the target invisible so he can't even attack him and trade his life by stacking up a ton of burning spears. And then you slow him so much so everyone just walks away. And he's like, he's got no... His ult is his one mobility to get in. And then once you hit him with, like, all these slows, like, what does he do? Alright, the game should be over. You just, like, slowly poke it down. You built a Hurricane Pike. The game at this point is kind of done, so like I don't like it's fine if you want to get it. Oh, you also got the you got the shard. You can get the shard sooner though. It is that good. But instead of the Hurricane Pike, maybe you're just memeing the Hurricane Pike because at this point of the game it doesn't really matter. But so real quick, one Psychic Headband, really good. Increases your cast range even more, and then gives you the ability to like pull people out of position or push them away from you with a Psychic Headband. For example, a Huskar ulting you, and then you slow him and then push him away and walk away. Like, that's really good. Or these heroes like Quap who blink on top of you, and she's not actually fast. So if you push her away and then walk away, plus you slow her a bunch, she's like not going to do anything. The extra int is kind of nice for you, and then the cast range as well for all your stuff. Great. But then instead of a Hurricane Pike, because you're not a carry, it's not your job to attack from further and all of that, it doesn't matter. Actually, just like the items recommended here, generally good. Shiva's bonus armor, more like impact in the slows and the AoE around you. Reduces regen as well, so like good against Huskar, good against a lot of carries. Octarine as a support I don't think is quite necessary. I like Scythe is good, BKB to just survive longer. Like, you just want to live a lot of times as a Venomancer. So you can just buy a lot of those like support things. You could also go for like Solar Crest, depending on the game. In this game, not fully needed, but also not too bad. Like, it's kind of good on Slark. Gives you the bonus armor you need against like some of these guys. Mainly the Drow. Better in other games though, for sure, depending. Assault Cuirass could be like, again, not the best with like these kind of heroes, but like good against Drow, good with your carry. Like, it depends. Like, you can just buy things that help your team out, is what I'm saying. Venomancer has a very flexible build, but your thought process should not usually be, I want to do more damage, especially as support Venomancer. Your mentality should be like, I want to live long and enable my team. So like, that's why Greaves, Pipe, Vlads, Spirit Vessel, the Glimmer, maybe a Veil. The Veil like improves your damage, but then also your team's damage, right? And it gives you a bit of survivability with the attributes, not a ton, but then the mana regen too. Things like that. The Lotus Orb, like more armor, more regen, help my team. Because of the way your stuff works, like the slows and your natural armor, a lot of the times you don't need to build armor against right-click carries, because you're actually just, your plan is to kite them infinitely and then have naturally good armor, which means for you, usually what's more effective for survivability is health or heals and magic resistance. Like, your low health pool is usually your downfall to magic damage. So that's why you'll see a lot of Venomancers build like Pipe, because it gives you a barrier, which is effectively health, and then the magic resist and regen. So because you're good against like physical damage naturally, and then if you have the magic resist, then you just need to like keep regenning your health, because you want prolonged fights and you want to survive bursts. And that's why like the Pipe for the instant shield is good, but then it also synergizes nicely with like what you want to do, which is like long drawn out fights, good regen, stuff like that. What else? Ags is like okay. I don't feel like it's necessary on a support. The Rod of Atos is like okay if your team needs more roots, good general stats to like survive and helps you solve some of your issues. But I just like, I'm rarely thinking about only doing damage as a support. Even a support Venomancer. It's like not super important to him. Let's see the end of this. I feel like you guys should just clean up here. Yeah, I think this should be fine. All right, let's start summarizing what we learned. So 1, your laning stage. You're spending a bit too much time pulling. Try to harass a little more, especially with Poison Touch. Poke a little bit, maybe use Venomous Gale, and then while Venomous Gale is on cooldown, back off. While they're still affected by like Poison Sting for 6 seconds, and then by level 2, like 9 seconds, like then that is your time to go do a pull real quick, and then, you know, do the pull, and then come right back to harassing. In this game, you were like spending way too much time in near the jungle, leaving Slark alone versus the Huskar and Coddle. But like, you blocked the camp, and I thought that was good. And like, you were thinking about pulls a lot, which I like. And so now you just need to like balance it out a little more. Be in the lane, do stuff, then go pull to like regen. After you like trade your health away, you go and regen, and then you go back, you go this way, you go back, you know, back and forth like that. So that's the laning stage. And then I like that you identified you want to work on your understanding of the game plan, stuff like that. And I think Venomancer is definitely a hero that needs to do that, because you need to go set up the Plague Wards. So that's what I would recommend. So if I recall, there was one time you were like jungling with your Plague Wards, and then Huskar got to your lane, and then it's like, oh shit, I gotta go defend that. But you place one ward and Huskar doesn't care and he finishes the tower. But it should never reach that point, right? Your tower shouldn't take that much damage because you have Plague Wards, and you want to be conscious of that. And you want to hold that tower for as long as possible and drop a ton of wards there. And once you have enough wards near your tower, then you can like head over to the smaller hard camp, drop like 1 or 2 wards to help you farm that in between waves. But you want to keep enough wards by your tower that no one wants to go there. And that's how you like just drag the game out as Venomancer. That's like why you play Venomancer support. It's not to farm the jungle, it's to protect your towers or take enemy towers. So in this game, we just saw a lot of opportunities to protect your towers. In other games, if you're doing well enough in certain lanes that like your carry is perfectly fine in his safe lane, then you can leave him there and you go attack the enemy tower. In fact, we did see some cases where you guys were sieging towers and then your ward placement's a little off. You're using it for vision a little too much, and you need to have a couple wards together to safely push. It like, you create this safe zone where the enemy team has to run through like 4 wards if they want to chase. And it's not just 4 wards. Like when they walk up, you're going to hit them with like all your spells and then keep placing wards too. And it's that combination threat that deters people from chasing you. But if it's like 1 ward here, 1 ward there, like all split up, then they just don't care. But it is still like, you can still spread out some wards for vision. Like that is generally good, but just not too much. All 8 wards cannot be in different places. Otherwise, unless your team is like way ahead, and all you need is vision, then that's fine. But in a lot of games, it's never that one-sided, and you need to have enough wards together, like 4 wards together, and then 1 or 2 for vision. Then that tends to work a little better, because like you see someone coming from one angle, and it doesn't even fully matter. Like, you don't need to see everything. You cover 2 of the most dangerous angles that you're worried about, and if they come from some other like really bizarre angle, you just like, you position against that. Or they come from that weird angle and then they still engage in like 4 plague wards and they don't like that. And then they don't want to do it. And then honestly, your itemization wasn't too bad. This Hurricane Pike at the end was weird, but I don't know. Maybe you just got it because the game was like almost over. But up to here, I think was like the Spirit Vessel and the Tranquils, I'm totally fine with. Yules, I think in certain games is like all right. In this game, I'm okay with it because the Necro ended up getting the Greaves or Pipe. Otherwise, I'd generally recommend one of those. In this game, probably the Pipe or Glimmer. So Glimmer is another option. If you want the Yules, that's fine. And then you want the Force Staff, I would argue a Glimmer is better than the Force Staff. But if you want the Force Staff, sure. And then after that, instead of Hurricane Pike, I'd probably get like the Glimmer. Or start going for like a Scythe. Some like late game item. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Always, let me know if you have questions, stuff like that. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.